Thank you. My presentation is about the critical geography agenda for bringing back space and spatialities, social innovation research. And actually, we can start from some common knowledge information, so to say. First of all, the idea that the broad availability of digital devices and software has been often welcomed by policy experts and social scholars as a revolutionary possibility for enlarging the sphere of public debate and for allowing more people to step in and for democratizing the government and the governance processes traditionally precluded to people, particularly in the urban context. My research particularly focused on digital social innovation, which is a term defined by the European Commission and the research and innovation domain in Europe. We can define digital social innovation as a form of social innovation endowed with the operational capacity of digital technologies that can tackle many of the current socio-political challenges. What is important in that is that DSI include innovation initiatives, which would have not existed without the digitally connected devices in general and the internet in particular, and that changed the forms and functioning of society, specifically in and through the digital. So it's not just social innovation per se, but a particular subset of social innovation initiatives. These initiatives are intended to, in general, to co-create new products, services, or processes that might reconfigure social relationships, notably in the city, or increase the access possibility and reinvent social technologies in a very Foucaultian sense. In general, the DSI initiatives has been explored by innovation management and regional studies with a very shallow focus on the spatial dimension. So the city worked as a background for DSI initiatives. This means that that kind of research focused on the conditions that allow these initiatives to emerge and to bring successful production processes, or to the economic impacts they generate on interested territories. This is just a screenshot, a map from a European project which has been very successful and very well known, called Digital Social Innovation for Europe. So you can access it online if you like. Actually, there has been a number of projects about digital social innovation or cognate phenomena such as civic tech or tech for good. Sometimes they are differently named, founded by the European Commission. You can see here a few logos on the right of the slides, but there has been also a number of projects independently funded by public administration, social organization, or even private companies, more private companies in some cities in Europe. And again, you have a very short list on the slides. So it has not been only funded at macro-regional level, but also at the local level. What is interesting is that critical studies of internet and society are now attaching a more careful attention to the actual possibilities, the intrinsic limits and the external obstacles that require us to reconsider the premises of technological citizenry. And it's what time, we know that it's what time to step behind the background. And I think that a critical geography approach to digital social innovation is important to consider the way in which digital social innovation initiatives interact with the city space and the city spatialities, which are generated by the digital revolution and emerge from the encounter, as you can read on the slide, of society with space mediated by the digital tools and the digital processes. And I think there are three tenets that we can particularly consider. The first one is the reproduction issue. So it's there is, of course, some literature on these issues, on these tenets that I am now, but it would be very useful to elaborate together a more general framework and to include all the contributes within a general framework for analysis. So the first tenet I was referring to, I want to refer to is the reproduction. It, of course, focus on the transformations of the coded set of procedures that make the city working, which means how the social production of space is mediated through the social construction of technologies. And in this particular tenet, we may focus on DSI as encompassing a number of social technologies that embody collective mentality to mediate and produce the physical and the social space. The second tenet is the representation. It refers to how digital social innovation processes underlie specific narratives, imaginaries, and visions, and how these representations vehiculated by digital tools shape urban spaces. There are a number of correspondences between urban technology imaginaries, you may find them at the bottom part of the table, and digital social innovation approaches. So you may, for instance, see a correspondence between the idea of the hyper-connected city, which is basically the smart city idea, with the functionalist, positivist, and technology-led idea of digital social innovation, while on the opposite side, you had the do-it-yourself city perspective that is put in connections, can be put in connection with the revolutionaries, it's called revolutionary approach to digital social innovation. And of course, there is the last tenet, which is about power. And as my colleagues mentioned in the presentation before of mine, it refers to gainers and users in the digital revolution and the new geometries of power with their own spatial logics that manifest in the city, and to the social political underpinnings of digital governance, referring to empowerment, disempowerment, privileges, and exclusions, for instance. So there are new challenges we might be interested in working about against this framework, this critical geography framework. And these challenges particularly refer to understanding under what condition DSI initiatives can be progressive or emancipatory political gestures, and how they can fuel the transition from a business-led, techno-deterministic city to socially innovative, community-driven one, or how technological devices, instead of being designed on the base of corporate interests, can be created for people's needs, because actually there are different perspective on this. And I want just to raise a couple of points that I think are particularly important. The first point about using digital social innovation processes in urban governance in general is that is the point of technology fetishism in public participation. I think that this general idea signal how difficult it is to engage for public good and people empowerment via the promotion of technology-led processes, and calls for a more attentive consideration of the often forgotten through that technology per se is never politically neutral. So the design of technologies themselves is embedded with political values. And another point refers to participation. This idea of increasing participation opportunities, which is of course something we all welcome, is at the same time dangerous when participation initiatives are not intended to increase the democratic quality of a society, but rather to the opposite. So participation is a value-led and content-free word. And just a couple of points more. It's about data, the proliferation of data, which are the new oil to extract from the mass. And one of the points we may raise about it is that putting the issue in terms of privacy in a world of society, in a society of exposure and connections, probably is important, but does not allow people to grasp the core of the problem. Data privacy is a matter of social justice, not of information disclosure, or not only of information disclosure. It has to do with the very fact that somebody is gaining a lot from something we provide for free. that's a key point that, of course, relates to privacy, but does not only stick to the privacy issue. And the second point that I think deserves more attention is the issue of digital inequalities, because I think that when we talk of digital inequalities, we should not only refer to the differentiated access possibilities that people may have, because most of the people, especially in the global north, have some possibility to access digital devices or to access internet, but the quality of the content they can reach sometimes is very low. And so they can, most of the people, the first information, data, suggestions you got, we can say junk digital contents. So the point is also understanding what kind of access, what kind of information, what kind of data, what kind of possibilities you actually get when you access the internet, and the majority of people get. This is a crucial point in my perspective, actually. So in general, I think that a critical geography agenda for the DSI processes can focus on the digital dimension as the new battleground for a more just and democratic society. So it can better tackle the political and cultural issues emerging in the digital sphere, rather than we have done up to now. Of course, it's a growing research field, but there is still a lot to do. And here is just a book of mine that was intended, is going to be out soon, and it was intended to start exploring this perspective. Thank you.